3 red flags to watch out for dating women in 2020 and beyond. So depending when you're watching this, okay, this is going to go for 2020 and beyond, right? Because everything I teach you guys is timeless, right? I would never teach you guys anything that is going to not be applicable in the future. Everything I teach you guys is red pill. It's timeless. These are lessons I've learned in field as a professional pickup artist, and I'm never ever going to teach you anything that is going to not work in the future. Okay, so you can rest assured that these 3 red flags for dating women in 2020 and beyond are going to work for the next 100 years plus. Okay, the next 100 years and then some. So let's crack right into this. So the first red flag that you want to look out for with dating women in 2020 and beyond is you want to watch out for these women that preach feminist values, okay? And the sad reality is there are way too many women out there that have been brainwashed by feminism. I would say the overwhelming majority, okay? You're going to be pretty hard pressed to find a girl who isn't yapping away, repeating, talking points from the feminine imperative, right? It's going to be really, really hard to find a girl who doesn't at least preach some of those values, okay? But again, some women are far worse than others. I've dated a few women, believe it or not, who've like quasi referred to themselves as feminists, but really at the end of the day, they weren't. They were kind of like coffee shop feminists, where they were just, again, repeating talking points that they might have heard from The View or CNN or something like that, right? Or another girlfriend of theirs that has also been brainwashed. And these women are very easy to turn back, right? What they're really missing in their lives is a strong male role model. A lot of these women grew up with very weak male role models, whether they didn't have a father, they were raised by their single mother, or if they did have a father, he was a weak father figure, he didn't really stand his ground. She might have witnessed her mother completely just hammering down on her father her entire life, to the point where now she just feels like, oh, this is how all men should be. They should be beta, just like my dad, right? Where it's not true. And I've dated plenty of women who have been like this, whereas when I entered the picture, or even any of my students, right? I've heard a lot of stories from my students. When they enter the picture, they start dating a woman who's kind of like a coffee shop feminist, not like a full bore feminist. They're able to kind of turn her back to normal, right? And the girl will quickly follow his lead, and then she will adopt more traditional values. Okay, she will become more traditional. And a lot of these girls who are kind of these coffee shop type feminists, these girls actually want to be mothers. They want to have a family. They do have traditional values, but they've kind of been poisoned by the left. They've been poisoned by all of this female propaganda that you see coming from movies, television, Hollywood, advertising. They've been brainwashed by that stuff because it's everywhere. And you know what? It's not just them who've been brainwashed. Guys have been brainwashed by this stuff too, right? You might have some blue pill friends of yours who just kind of repeat those talking points like, yeah, man, women's rights, man. We got to go to the women's march, man. And you're thinking, like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy, right? What is wrong with this guy? I have to watch my cursing, by the way, guys, from now on, because YouTube has this new, profanity filter, believe it or not. YouTube has a profanity filter, so I have to watch what I say. Apparently, even if you say the word like dang, you could get flagged for that. Crazy, right? You have to really watch what you say on YouTube these days, but I'm not going to hold back. But I can watch my language a little better, just so these videos don't get demonetized. And also, I try not to curse in my videos anyway, because it's kind of a crutch when you're coaching, and I don't like to use profanity as a crutch. If I want to curse, I'll curse out of my own free will, but I don't like to use it in my coaching because it kind of takes away from the message. So anyway, sorry for that little tidbit. But that is the first red flag you want to watch out for when dating women in 2020 and beyond, is Does she preach feminist values? And even worse, does she try to shame you with them? Does she try to emasculate you with them? Does she try to butt heads with you on them, right? Because beyond these coffee shop feminists who are very much just looking for a strong male role model to come in their lives, whether it be a boyfriend or, just like an authority figure who's a male, these other type of women who have completely bought into that, all the feminist propaganda, those women are just too far gone. Okay, those are the type of women you're just gonna have to be like, no, and luckily for us, those women are generally not attractive anyway, so we don't care, right? It doesn't matter. They're not attractive. Most women who are like hardcore feminists, I mean, you could look on Google Images. These are not chicks that you would want to date, hook up with, marry, impregnate, pump and dump. You wouldn't want to do anything with these girls anyway. When you meet a girl and you start talking to her, as you get to know her, you'll hear just in light conversation how much she believes in that, how much she believes in those feminist values. Okay? And the good thing is, the hotter she looks, the less she's actually going to believe in those things, right? She might just repeat talking points. Like I said, she's going to be a coffee shop feminist where really she has traditional values. She could be turned, right? Like in, that vampire movie, The Lost Boys, right? All the half vampires, the people who didn't make their first kill yet, all the half vampires, they're able to turn back once you kill the head vampire, right? Once you kill the head vampire, who is Max, for you 80s fans, The Lost Boys, once they killed Max, all the people who were half vampires turned right back, right? And it's no different. And unfortunately, like I said, the overwhelming majority of women out there, at least here in the Western world, right? Maybe not in places like Eastern Europe, right? I mean, those women are still going to be pretty much traditional, right? But here in the Western world, these chicks have been brainwashed way too far. But like I said, the hardcore feminists, they're not part of our demographic anyway. They're not part of our target audience. We don't care. It's just mainly the hotties that we're after, the 8s, 9s, and 10s. Those will be the girls who really, like, deep down, they don't buy into that, right? And as they get older, like, once they start to hit their later 20s, even their early 30s, they will believe less and less in feminism. I think there's even a statistic these days that I think it's like 2 out of 3 women think feminism's a bad idea, right? So those are some pretty good odds in our favor. I mean, really, feminists have really screwed themselves, and they've screwed their own message, because all people see is them out there acting crazy, going these pussy marches, flashing their tits, doing stuff like that. And a lot of women who are, for the most part, good women, do not want to be associated with that, right? Even women who are just semi-normal don't want to be associated with that, right? So that's the first sign you want to look for. Make sure you don't date any of these women who are like hardcore feminists. You wouldn't want to anyway. And the women who are half feminists, you can easily turn them back. So look out for that if she's preaching feminist values. Okay? What's even worse than that is if you have a guy friend. If you have a guy friend who's preaching feminist values, I mean, obviously you don't need anything from that guy. You're not trying to date him or have sex with him. It's just best to let a guy like that go if he can't be turned back. If he's just like hardcore feminist, male feminist, just let that guy go. Right? And I've had to let go of a few guys that I grew up with. I was shocked. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? No, equal rights for women, man. Equal rights. I'm like, they already have equal rights. He's like, but no, they need more. I'm like, why? They need equal pay. Oh, they don't get equal pay? Well, but no, more rights for women. And it's like the guy didn't even know why he was saying this stuff. And I'm like, man, I can't believe I went to school with this guy. He was like a buddy of mine. I'm like, but you'll have friends like this too in your life, right? It's not just me. You'll have friends like this too that you've known all your life. And you're like, whoa, dude. And that just really proves the theory that, as you get older, your childhood friends, you just kind of grow apart, right? You just mature and you grow apart. So that is the number 1 red flag to watch out for. The number 2 red flag that you want to watch out for is, does she have an underlying hatred towards men? Okay, and this is something that you almost kind of have to be like a detective about. And you kind of have to interrogate her a little bit and just ask her questions, you know. And this will come out naturally just by default, getting to know the girl, right? As you're having normal conversation with her, you'll kind of start to see what her values are, right? And in her speaking, just because girls like to yap away about themselves, she will pretty much for her, you know, she'll pretty much hang herself if she has an underlying hatred towards men, right? And what I like to do, and what you want to do as well, is when you first start dating a girl, not even dating her, but even during the approach, sometimes I'll ask the girl this. If we're having a good conversation, we have good rapport, I'll ask her about her last boyfriend. Tell me about the last guy you dated. How long did you date him? What happened? How did it end? Right? I'll kind of try to fish, so to speak, and kind of try to unravel her previous dating history and like, why is she single today? No matter what age she is. I don't care if she's in her early 20s or, you know, or late 20s, but especially if she's like, you know, hitting her 30s, right, or late 30s, and say she's hot and she's still single. Like I tell you guys, that's a red flag in itself, right? That is a red flag in itself. If the chick is hot and she's still single, like well into her 30s, you have to ask yourself why. And don't believe her bullshit like, oh, just nobody wrapped me up, right? Nobody got this prize. No, there's something wrong with that chick, right? Something wrong with that chick. Just like on a car lot, if you see like this hot car, you might see like a Ferrari or a Lambo or a Vet, right? A Corvette, some car that you want sitting on a lot, and it's cheap and it's been sitting there for months. You have to ask yourself why, and it's like at a low price. You know something's wrong with that car, right? You know something's wrong. Otherwise someone would have bought it by now. But you know it's probably got electrical issues, right? Might have some hidden like frame damage from an accident. Might be a salvage title. You don't know, right? Just like these chicks, there's a reason they're hot and they're still single. So you have to ask yourself, does she have an underlying hatred towards men? And generally, right, I'm gonna give you guys a little tip. Generally, these girls who are hot and they're still single into their 30s and their 40s and beyond, they do. Okay, they do. They have an underlying hatred towards men. This is why they are still single. Okay? This is why they're still single and could never hang on to a man. Right? A lot of times what I've found with these girls is they just don't know how to treat a man. They're just way too mouthy, right? They just don't know when to shut up. They don't know how to support their man. They don't know how to respect their man. They're constantly going out to the clubs with their girls on the weekend. They're constantly taking these girl trips. They're thinking, oh, you know, I'll just leave them at home. They're like ridiculously hypergamous, right? This does not sit well with guys. And a chick could be super hot, but she can still not get a single guy to put a ring on her finger, right? No guy wants to make that type of lifetime investment in her, you know. So she remains single throughout her 30s, 40s. She continues to ride the CC, the carousel, right? And the entire time, a lot of that behavioral pattern that she has really comes from her underlying hatred towards men. You will find that a lot of these women who have an underlying hatred towards men have filed previous restraining orders on ex-boyfriends, right? This is another red flag I've talked about in several of my programs is when you're talking to these girls and she tells you about an ex-boyfriend, oh, had to get a restraining order on him. It's like, why? What did he do? And she might have a valid story, right? She might be like, oh, he's crazy. He was possessive. He was stalking me. Why was he stalking you though? You know, and it's easy to just buy into the girl's frame, especially if she's hot. Like, oh, girl, I'm not like that, right? He was stalking you. He's crazy, girl. It's like, wait a minute. Okay, let's play devil's advocate for a second here. Why was he stalking her? Obviously, he didn't trust her, but why? Why didn't he trust her? I mean, it would always be great if we could quiz the ex-boyfriend, right? Because you know the ex-boyfriend was like, he'll let loose on her. He'll be like, you know why I was out there, dude? You know why I was sitting out in front of her house? She was cheating. She was sleeping with her next door neighbor. I actually did have an ex who was doing that. Donatella, who's going next door to her neighbor out in Pacifica and like having sex with her next door neighbor. Is pathetic. Things like that. You have to wonder why. Like, hey, why did she put in a restraining order on this ex-boyfriend of hers? And what's even more of a red flag if she's done it to more than one ex-boyfriend. Right? If she's had to put restraining orders on more than one ex-boyfriend, guess who's going to be the next? You, right? Maybe she just does that, right? And I've known girls who've done dumb shit like that just to get rid of the guy, or just to keep the guy from coming around while she brings another guy to her apartment or to her place, right? These girls have basically used the court system to their advantage, right? Using a restraining order, right? Which was not meant for that purpose, to help you cheat, right? They use the courts because they know the courts are going to be in their favor, and they take advantage of that, right? And they use like this restraining order to exercise their open hypergamy, to field better options, the bigger, better deal, right? So that is the number 2 red flag you want to watch out for, is does she have an underlying hatred for men? Right? Is she down with these Me Too marches, these pussy marches? How does she feel about that? You have to ask her. I mean, sometimes you could even be just blunt with a girl and be like, hey, how do you feel about equal pay for women? Right? If she's like, oh, we don't get enough. Men are overpaid, and all this. That should tell you right there, she probably has a little bitterness towards men, And by the way, that pay gap is complete bullshit. That's been completely disproven over and over and over by statistics, and so I'm not even getting into that in this coaching video, but that is the number 2 red flag you want to watch out for with dating women in 2020 and beyond. And third and finally, getting to my favorite here, third and final red flag to watch out for, gentlemen, with dating women from today and beyond into the future, into the next 100 years plus, right? Into the next 1,000 years, I can even guarantee this is still going to be valid. The number 3 red flag to watch out for is you want to find out if she was raised by a single mother, right? Was that girl raised by a single mom, right? If you were raised by a single mom, we're not talking about you right now, okay? But if she was raised by a single mom, look out, right? Look out, because like mother, like daughter. Right? They say like father, like son. No. Like mother, like daughter. There is way more validity to that expression than there is to like father, like son. You really want to find out if she was raised by a single mom, because if she was, and she didn't have a male role model around, right? If she didn't have a father figure around, this girl is going to have daddy issues, right? And I'm sure like the 0.001% of women out there who were raised by a single mom and she did a good job are going to chime in below and be like, hey, mister, that's not me. My single mom raised me right. And, she took care of us. And my dad was a piece of shit. It's like, okay, understood, point taken, great, okay? But just because you are the small minority of females out there who turned out okay and you were raised by a single mother, it does not disqualify the 99.9% of females out there who were raised by a single mother and are now just completely mentally and emotionally damaged, right? And the thing that I found with all of the women that I've dated over the last 3 decades, and this has not changed, the ones that were raised by a single mother always, without fail, had mental issues, psychological issues, emotional issues. They always had some sort of damage, dare I say, that they brought into the relationship. They always had some type of baggage from childhood that they brought into our relationship that now became my job as the boyfriend, as the new male role model, to fix, to diffuse to help. I mean, it's like, dude, that's not my job. I get in relationships to have fun with a chick. I want to be cool. I want to pal around. I don't want to fight. I want to be able to trust the girl. I want her to be loyal. I want her to give me back massages when I want one. I want her to take care of me, and I want to take care of her. I mean, I want us to be there for each other. I don't want us to have to play psychologist, right? Which is what happens when you are dealing with an emotionally damaged woman who was raised by a single mom, right? Emotionally, mentally, psychologically, right? These chicks just cannot function in a normal relationship, and chances are they never will be able to. I mean, if I look back at all the women that were super hot that I approached back in the day that I might have ended up dating, maybe even became girlfriends. A few of these girls became my girlfriends. I look at them today, right? I'm able, because I've been doing games so long and I've been a pickup artist for multiple decades now, I'm able to look at the women I've dated previously, whether it be in the 90s, the 2000s, even the early 2010s, and I look at the timeline of what has happened to them. I can tell you, overwhelmingly, I would say 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, those chicks are still single. Okay? They're still single. A lot of those chicks became single mothers themselves. I would say overwhelmingly, probably 8 out of 10 of them became single mothers themselves. They had kids with some alpha bad boy, right? And the alpha bad boy took off. Now they're raising that alpha Chad's child, right? They're raising Chad Jr., as I like to call him. And really, they're just following in their mother's footsteps, right? There was one girl I dated whose mother kind of was like, I swear, her mom was like in her late 40s, early 50s, and she was dressing like a teenager. I remember we ran into her mom at the mall once. Okay, so this girl, at the time I was dating her, she was 26, about 26 years old, maybe 27. And we ran into her mom at the mall, of all places. And literally, the girl I was dating, like, she was really beautiful too, by the way. And her mom wasn't bad looking, but we ran into her mom, and I remember she just kind of put her head down, like, oh my God, there's my mom. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, do you not want her to see you with, your guy, your boyfriend or something, which was me. And then she was like, no, I don't want to introduce you, and I thought she was like embarrassed of me. And I was kind of like, oh wait, is this because of me? Right, my old blue pill self. And she was like, no, it's not that. I'm like, no, it's because of me. And she was like, I'll introduce you. And I could tell it was paining her to introduce her mother to me. And then sure enough, like, her mom saw her. She's like, oh, hi. And then she introduced her mom to me, and I just kind of looked her mom up and down, and she really reminded me of that mom from that movie Mean Girls with Lindsay Lohan. Don't ask me why I was watching this. I think I was watching with my 9-year-old niece at the time. But we're watching Mean Girls, and there was a lady who was like, oh, I'm the cool mom. I'm the cool mom. You guys could have alcohol. You could have beer. And so she kind of reminded me of that. Her mother was like, oh, I'm the cool mom. And funny enough, okay, this girl that I was dating at the time, where we ran into her mother, and her mother was like dressing like an 18-year-old, even though she was in her late 40s, early 50s, right? This chick was her mom was probably shopping at like Forever 21 or something, buying her clothes. But even I remember meeting her mother at that time and thinking to myself, I hope she doesn't turn out like that. Right? I hope she doesn't turn out like that. I hope, like mother, like daughter, she doesn't turn out like that, because that chick at the time was normal, right? She was a beautiful girl, just like, oh, by the way, I should mention this too. Her mom had fake tits. You could tell she had worked under her face. And I remember at the time, I even told my girlfriend when we ran into her mom, I was like, why did your mom do that? She doesn't need to. She's like naturally pretty. She's naturally attractive. Why did she like do like the fake boobs and the plastic surgery? And she was like, oh, I don't know, but I'm so embarrassed, and she was literally embarrassed. And this girl I dated for like a year, and she was normal. She used to dress classy, and she was just a cool girl, right? And it didn't work out eventually, but fast forward, right, 10 or 15 years later, I see this girl, right? I saw her, I think she was like, she popped up on my Facebook one time because we have a few mutual friends, but she popped up on Facebook. I'm like, oh, how's she doing? And I click on it. I'm like, whoa, I thought it was her mom. No, but it was her. She literally, you know, followed in her mom's footsteps. I mean, this was a beautiful, pretty girl. Even at, like, now she would be in her 40s, her early 40s. She would still have looked really attractive. No way she would have needed surgery. But nope, here she was on Facebook. You could tell she did her lips. She did her forehead, like collagen. I don't know if she did any, it looks like she did some other stuff with her face. Fake tits, her tits were out to here. I'm like, whoa, this is a chick who despised that stuff. This is a chick that I remember when we ran into her mom, she was disgusted by that. But yet here she is, you know, 15 years later, followed right in her footsteps, just like her, and was completely not the same cool girl that I remember hanging out with. I mean, now she was all into like, oh, I've got to have the Louis Vuitton purse and the Chanel, you know, whatever, the Chanel shirt. You know, I don't know women's fashion too well, but she was wearing all like the high-end stuff, the Gucci slippers and all this. Why? Dude, it's like, dude, I mean, this chick was not materialistic back then or plastic, but she followed in her mom's footsteps and became materialistic and plastic. And it's sad because I was like, wow, I don't even want to like be friends with this person, because I was going to at least add her as a friend, right? And I was like, ugh, I don't even want to do anything now. I'm like, you know, I was just tripping out with that because she was so like the opposite of that when I dated her. Crazy. But it just goes to show, like mother, like daughter, right? Like mother, like daughter. You know, and you hear a lot of times like father, like son. I've seen plenty of examples of guys who did not turn out like their father. I would say overwhelmingly, probably at least 50% of guys do not turn out like their father. The other half do, right? But when it comes to women, man, like 99% of the time, like mother, like daughter holds true. Okay. So those are my 3 red flags that you want to watch out for dating women in 2020 and beyond for the next 100 years, the next 1,000 years. I guarantee these 3 red flags will still be valid well into the next 1,000 years, right? With that said, I'm going to wrap up here. Until next time, this is M from the 33 Secrets. Do not forget to smash that like button below. Also, hit that notification bell right next to it so that you're notified whenever I release a brand new coaching video here on the YouTube, right? More importantly, guys, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Too many of you guys are still unsubscribed to my channel. And YouTube is even unsubscribing guys from my channel. So you want to make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. That way you get all of my latest brand new coaching videos right as I upload them. They won't get lost on YouTube. Sometimes YouTube even just removes them. So you guys, a lot of you guys end up messaging me weeks later like, hey, I want to see the video. What happened? Like, sorry, you missed it, man. YouTube removed it. You know, and then you have all the other guys who were subscribed, who watched it, were like, oh man, that was badass. That was my favorite one. Of course, YouTubers are going to remove it, you know. So make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss a single upload. Even if YouTube does remove it, you won't miss a single upload. And for you guys who want to support my work and all of this red pill content that I'm teaching guys even further, the best way to do that is by jumping into my monthly online coaching program. You guessed it, 7 months to mastery, where I am teaching guys just like you how to get your ass out there and start approaching and closing the youngest, hottest, and most beautiful looking women on the planet. I am talking about 8s, 9s, and 10s, the cream of the crop, the most highest caliber women out there that are not feminists, that are not damaged goods, that are not single mothers, but the high value, high quality women out there that you can bring into your life. And trust me, these are women that myself and my students are out there approaching and closing every single week. And I kid you not, every single week. Okay? And right now, it's only $1 to jump into 7 months of mastery. It's only $1, right? It's a deal of a lifetime. You can get an entire month worth of coaching lessons from me, all for just $1. And it's real easy to sign up. All you need to do is click that link below in my description box. It will take you over to my website where you can get signed up right now. It just takes 2 seconds. So do that now. and I will see you in my next coaching video.